Welcome to the Early Night Show with Anvay Pramanik.
Well, hello there, beautiful. I welcome you to the season finale episode of Anvay Pramanik's Early Night Show. Tonight we complete season 1 and it's a celebration night. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Thank you so much for listening to it for so long. This is just the beginning, it's not the end. It's just the beginning. I can tell you, I can feel it. Now, as promised, backed by popular demand, tonight we're going to continue the episode Come On Baby Light My Fire with the part 2 continuation of that. If you have not yet heard Come On Baby Light My Fire part 1, I'd recommend you listen to this part and then go back to that part and understand why this podcast was so popular and why everyone's asking for a part 2. Why everyone was really looking forward to part 2. I mean, I'd announced part 2 in that podcast itself. I think it was episode 13 where I did Light My Fire part 1. And today we are in episode 25. Feels good, man. Oof. For all you amazing people who missed that podcast, I will just fill you in on what we're talking about today. We are going to be talking about all the beautiful women who have had a chance to, all the regrets with all the beautiful women that I've had, all the could have beens and the I wishes. That's what I'm going to discuss in this podcast. Like the previous one, I've spoken about a few of them, probably I think till college. Today I'm going to talk about after college, what happened. It's going to be balls out. It's going to be really intimate this one, and I'm going to keep everyone's identity discreet. Last time, a lot of y'all who I was talking about in the podcast did tune in, so I hope a few of y'all are going to tune in for this one. Now, last time we stopped off at the lady who I had wished I'd dated back in college, or at least I'd wished I'd cooked, like we'd done what we wanted to, but we didn't anyways. Today I'm going to continue with a story. Again, this is going to be completely no context. It's not in sequential. I'm going to mix up a few stories. Some of them are very short-lived, some of them are long-lived. None of them worked out. These are all the situations that didn't work out. And the reason I'm celebrating this is because I've realized that despite that, I still hold each of these memories. It's very treasured memories. These are because in my life, there's 3 things that I want. I want the freedom to explore the world and all the human experiences. I want to make love to every woman that I find attractive and who finds me attractive. And I want to travel to places where I can explore myself in isolation, backpack across places, do pilgrimages. And I want to meet anyone I find interesting, I want to meet them. These are a few things that I want to do in life. The freedom leading to all of this. So I know it for a fact, like I personally, I don't believe that relationships today, again, I don't speak for everyone, but I speak for a majority of people. Relationships today aren't the way it's supposed to be ideally. I mean, again, this is not speaking up against actually, you know what? I'm not going to be nice. I'm going to speak up against what I feel. I believe honestly that no two human beings are meant to be monogamous, or at least no two human beings are meant to start monogamous and end monogamous. I honestly believe that given the origin of society and evolution of human dynamics, of social dynamics, cultural dynamics, introspective dynamics, I think what's happened is, at one point of time, it made sense to be monogamous. STDs, short-lived relationships, people getting married off early, a lot of religious perversion, anti-religious perversion. So it's necessary for relationships to be in a certain way. It was necessary for marriages to be formed so that kingdoms could establish relationships with one another. Today we have no need for that, but I still see a lot of these Gharelu type families sending off their daughters and sons as if they were nothing more than like a piece of paper for a contract in a kingdom. I've seen it. I see it happen every other a month. And someone and I know who's from a very strict family getting married off. That's really fucked up. I'm against that. I'm against people who are stuck in relationships and stuff like that. But again, that's not part of this context, this conversation. The whole idea is to talk about, I personally believe that relationships today are incomplete, shallow. No two individuals explore themselves spiritually, sexually, physically. And none of it's based on truth. It's all based on a significant lie, which is why, after a while, again, I don't speak for everyone, but I speak for a majority. After a while, things fall short. And it's primarily because of that level of intimacy. And human beings, according to me, human beings, like exclusivity in relationships is not a given. It's not a choice. I mean, it's not a given. It's earned. Like how I very strongly believe that driving in public roads is not a right. It's something that's earned. But we treat it like it's a fucking right. I mean, if you look at anywhere in the West or in Japan, if you take your driving license for granted, you're going to fucking lose it. Right? Quite similar with relationships. I honestly think that exclusivity is not a given. It's earned. Both ways. No guy can ever demand that the woman he likes be exclusive to him. It's earned. Similarly, no woman can ever demand that the guy that she's with demand that he's exclusive. It's something that's earned. That's what I very strongly believe. And if you're going to demand it and the other faggot's going to cave in or the lady's going to cave in, then your relationship is doomed. It's fucking, either he's going to become a cuck or you're going to become his bitch. It's one of those two things that's going to happen at the end of it. No one's going to be satisfied. And in a relationship, there always has to be one dominant. But then again, when I say one dominant, I don't mean to say one dominating the relationship. I mean to say that one who, in any given situation, there's one who's dominant. It's never one person who's continuously dominant, but any given situation, there's one person in the relationship who's dominant. That's what I believe in. And if you're going to have a cuck or a bitch relationship, the other person's never going to dominate and he's going to live his entire life dominated. It's really fucked up, the kind of shit that happens. And some guys, they want to be with the girl so bad, or some women, they don't want to let go of this guy because of that security, that they endure that shit, like women who get beaten up at physical abuse, domestic abuse, men who are being taken for a ride by these, Pooh Bears. Again, I am not against relationships. I fucking love relationships. I think every single human being on this planet should be in a relationship. I just believe that the way relationships are today are really fucked up. That's what I believe. Now that we have that out of the way, in case you missed the previous podcast, let's jump right into the story. Last time we left off with this lady who had asked me out in college, and post-college I'd again hung out with her. And then I found out later that she wanted to she was much older than me and stuff like that. So anyways, that was the last story. Today I'm going to start off with the first story of this much older lady. The first time this is a lady that I had a brilliant relationship with. Intimate, spiritual, sexual, physical. Even today I have a sort of connection with her. She's much older than me. She's like twice my age. Her kid's older than me. And we met in Goa. It was me and Theo, a friend of mine. We were living in Goa together and we'd rented this one shack. Theo paid for my entire Goa trip, man. Fuck, I still owe you a holiday in India, Theo. Yeah, so me and Theo were living in this small ass room. And one evening, that same evening, we hear someone checking into the next room and we see this much older gentleman and this much older lady with her. And the older gentleman starts talking to Theo and they're making conversation, and we find out they're Russian, and I go off to the beach at that point of time. I still remember I fucked off to the beach. Somewhere, I don't remember. I fucked off somewhere. Somewhere I fucked off. This was in Arambol. Then I come back home that evening and we are going to this shack that was nearby. I forgot the name. Some Hodgepodge Moch or something like that was the name of the... It was a cafe. There was this dance ceremony kind of thing going on. Like these Israeli belly dancers and these musicians, they were all there. And I still remember it was me and Theo chilling. And Alec, no, he wasn't there. And the person who had joined us in the adjoining room, he came down and he was like, "Hey, what's up, guys? What's happening?" He wasn't talking to me much, but I'm like, that's where I'll go make friends and introduce myself. Till today, we still connected on WhatsApp, so it's amazing. This is like 5 or 4 years ago. So I remember that he was telling us about how, in my initial assumption was they were a husband-wife. He was telling me that's his best friend from Russia. She doesn't speak a word of English. I didn't speak a word of Russian. Theo didn't speak a word of Russian. They were in India chilling. And, I think very casually he just hints it to Theo, that she's here. Like, it was very casual. The way he hinted it was the first time, right? I'm getting used to it. He was like, dude, we are here to just fuck around. Like, she's divorced. I'm divorced. She has a kid. I have a kid. We are single. We're here to fucking chill. He was telling that to Theo, almost as if like he was telling Theo to like do her. It felt like that at that point of time, Like he was trying to set them up, it felt like that. And then the fun part happened, is right? Like I'm standing and I'm chilling and I'm talking to this bald American guy from California, and he was telling me about, how he finds himself confident even though he's bald, and he does these sand castles in the beach every evening to meditate, something like that. Okay, he was telling me, and suddenly I see the lady, the older lady, she walked into the club and the cafe, and I'm looking at her, and she goes and she's like dancing, listening to the music. I walk behind her, I just like nudge her. Then for that evening, like Theo came and fed us some bruschettas with feta cheese on it. But for that entire evening, me and her were dancing. And I remember the next evening, like, dude, I don't speak a word of Russian. She doesn't speak a word of English. I pulled out my phone and I'm using Google Translate. That's how we are communicating. Literally, I fucking kid you not. Like, she's talking to it in Russian and is translating back to me. I'm talking to it in English and is translating back to her. It was mad. So we decided to meet the next morning. The next morning, we went out for lunch. Then we went out to a fort. Me, Theo, and Tito. All three of us rented scooters and we went to a fort far away, and we chilled over there and we came back. That evening, we went to a dhaba. There was a party going on, and that evening, I'm like, I think I'm in love with this lady. Right? We couldn't take our eyes off each other, macha. Like, we were sitting next to each other. We were like cuddling, hugging. We couldn't take our eyes off each other. Okay, it was amazing, right? That evening, I'm like, come, let's go for a walk. We go for a walk. We're walking along the beach. It's like 10 o'clock in the night. It's windy as fuck. We're like ankle deep in the water, holding hands. And I just turn around to her. I hold her, and we just kiss. For like 5-10 minutes, we were just kissing. And I think that we got so amazingly intimate. Again, like I'm telling you, I don't speak her language. She doesn't speak my language. But we fucking connected so strongly that night. I think we made amazing love. We made amazing love together. And I still remember this scene. Oh, dude. This is when I'm on my shoulder. I'm resting on my chest. She's on my back, and I'm on my phone. We're going through something. And suddenly the landlord, he fucking just comes through the door. He like knocks, and as he's knocking, the door opens, and we're both naked. So she wears her blanket, jumps off me, and I'm like, whoa. And then like he pulls me out, and he's like, he literally thought that it was a call girl kind of a situation, and he was really fucking freaking out for some reason, right? And I explained to him, Alex came. Fuck, I couldn't hide that name. Alex came and he was explaining to her, no, dude, not the scene. Fuck you, it's not the scene. And the best part is, the next day they left. I was supposed to meet them for breakfast, but I didn't, because that night we partied hard. I went out and I partied hard. I didn't wake up, and she messaged me. She's like, "Why didn't you come meet me?" I told her, I didn't apologize, but I told, it just didn't happen. And that evening, like me and the landlord, we were sitting, and he was telling me like, how was it, bro? Like he was like asking me, like I was giving him sex ed, like 9th grade sex ed that evening. It was great. Like we weren't talking about what I did, but I was giving him sex ed. Like, this is how you do it. This is what you do. I'm pretty sure they had amazing sex, him and his wife, that night. So yeah, this was this amazing experience in Goa when I realized you don't really need a language to connect with someone. I mean, it's all about energy, body language, how you reciprocate each other's vibe. That's all it's about. I mean, that's all relationships are about. It's not about fucking proposing. I mean, yeah, obviously you have rituals, but it's not about like what you connect on, what you don't connect on. It's about how you connect, how you feel when you are with each other, you know. Language is immaterial. So the next one is this, I would say she's half black and half American or half Bangalorean, something like that. She was half black, right? And I met her 3 times at 3 different events, 3 different versions of the same event. The event was called Open House or something like that. It's basically led by this lady who does this event for other ladies who are artists to sell their art. Amazing event. I mean, I always, I went there for every fucking season to head on women. Me and my friends Teja and Akib and Nishant and Vishnu, Preetham, we all went there just to head on women. Some really pretty women though. Classy and pretty, I mean, it's good. So I remember meeting her there and we really hit it off. I mean, we fucking hit it off like crazy. And I remember the first time that I went to this event, I was bald. I was trying out this bald look. I looked like a fucking mozzie. Second time I went, I had long curly hair and a beard. And third time I went clean shaven, but with short hair, which I have, the look that I have now. And all 3 times when I started hitting on her, I had like a very different personality, right? Because it was like in 3 different years it happened. All 3 times, this was when I was just in college, right? So all 3 times, I remember we're hitting it off, and then she's like, I think I know you. And I'm like, yeah, you remember that bald guy? She's like, no, it's you. And I remember that curly haired guy who was the bald guy? Like, no, it's you. It didn't work out between us though. I mean, I think I was too much of a raging bull in those events. Like I was like hitting on every single woman, and I don't think she particularly fancied that. But I still remember her face, clear as day to me. She looked like, one of those, you've seen those statues, those face mask statues that you get from Africa. Her face was cut like that. It was amazing. Very, very pretty face. Very curly brown hair. Very fit. Amazing. So many women, like I remember. This was one event, I mean, I don't want to sound like a piece of shit, but I am a piece of shit, so I'm going to say it anyways. I mean, that one event, it literally I felt like a kid at a candy fair. Literally did. It was amazing. I mean, thank you, Teja, for taking me to those events. I mean, the women there were wonderful. I really loved interacting with all the artists. A person's art truly shows a reflection of their character. And going through all those artists, I realized everyone's so different, so unique, these women. Every woman is so uniquely different. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Yeah, but unfortunately it didn't work out. It's a regret. I could have made it work out, but I was too much of a raging bull, like I said at that point of time. Nor did I have good game at that point of time. So I don't blame myself at all. I wish. I can always keep wishing, but what's done is done. Next one I remember this, there was this one time when I was, I used to keep inviting friends I used to live in Indranagar, and I used to keep inviting all my Facebook friends, come Macha, meet me at this event, come meet me. And Duelist Inquiry is one of my favorite artists. I mean, every single event that he's played in Bangalore, I've gone. And I've fucking made sure I was there for free, standing in front. Sahaj Bakshi, amazing musician, loves his music. That's why I love being there at his gigs. So I remember this one event where I had invited like some 30, 40 of my friends. So it was a Indiranagar humming tree filled with like 90, 100 people, and like 50 of them know me and I know them. So everywhere I'm walking, there are people like, "What's up, Anvay? Hi, Anvay." Yo, I felt like a baller. Like I felt like king that day in humming tree. Right? I should do this very often. But imagine Duelist Inquiry gig, and it feels like I'm the boss of humming tree. Like there's this philosophy I have, okay, that wherever you're going, carry an energy that as if you are the host of that event. If you're going to a fucking friend's house party and you don't know the host, if your friend is taking you to a house party and you don't know the host, act in that party as if you're the host. Don't act cocky, but act with that energy. Like, hey, what's up? Welcome to the party. What's up? You want to get a drink? Let's go get a drink. Make friends. So I remember that I'm dancing and I'm going from like left side of the club to the right side of the club to back side of the club to front side of the club, dancing with random people. Everyone's coming, dancing with me. It's crazy, okay? And I remember in the middle of the gig, okay, I turned back, and this actress, no, from what's that movie? Bahubali. That lady, what's her name? Bahubali actress. Tamanna. Right? Damn, yo. Anyways, look at me. Yeah, so anyways, dude, I just turn around and I see someone who looks like Tamanna and like standing there, short, fucking pretty, glowing. And the best part is, like, the reason I turn around is because, when I'm dancing, I fucking hate it when people come on the dance floor and stand when I'm dancing and like block me. I fucking hate it. So I look back and I see, like, there's someone whose elbow is constantly hitting me whenever I'm like trying to like shake, okay? And I turn back and I see this fucking pretty ass lady. And this like one champu guy with her. And this champu guy is like taking selfies in the fucking middle of the dance floor with her. Like, can I one selfie, madam? I was a little fried, okay? So I look back and I tell this girl, dude, you mind going to the back side of the club and standing? And she got shocked. Like, I was a little rude, okay? I'm like, she fucking got shocked. Now, me, okay, I'm an asshole, okay? Because what happens is, I act very rudely to women I find attractive, and then when they don't, this is a loop, okay? I remember this is a fucking repetitive negative feedback loop that I'm stuck in. I used to be stuck in that. I'd tup on them and then I would vie for their attention, and then the night would end, they would go home, I would go home, I'm like, fuck, I should have just been nice. So this is the night that I started actualizing and internalizing that I actually do this shit. So I remember this happened, and throughout the night, I'm like, she's looking at me, I'm looking at her, and I'm like, till today I have this regret. I lived walking distance from fucking Humming Tree, dude. Like, my house was 2 minutes away from Humming Tree, and I had 2 kittens at home and good food at home and nice view, balcony. For that reason, like, every time I look at Tamanna now, I'm like, fuck. So I went online and I got stuck up on that Tamanna thing for that very reason. So yeah, this was one of those evenings that I realized that I do that, and it was all thanks to that lady. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. I wish it did. I really wish it did. I mean, she was stunning, okay? And but it's okay, whatever. I mean, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Like they say. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. So that happened. That was fun. This reminds me of another, similarly, okay, I remember, within that time period, three events happened which made me realize that. I will tell you about the third one and the second one all. I've written all 3 of them down in one shot. So what happened is, I was at a Psytrance gig which happened in the VR box in Whitefield. High on Fire or some band like that had come, okay. Um, so me and my entire gang of Sai friends, we'd gone and we'd fucking raving, okay? And I remember in this party, I'd met some random 2-3 people who were apparently in my college. So they know me, I don't know them. Not trying to act cool or anything, but it's like shows how unsociable I was in college. So they're like, I'm dancing with one of those dudes, and suddenly in the middle, it feels like someone just took their fingers and fucking put something bitter in my mouth. My eyes open and I look, the guy next to me, he winks and he puts a MDMA in my mouth, okay? Fucking night, obviously, I was already tripping on acid, so this MD comes in and I'm like, boom, okay? Then I remember, again, like I told you, right, I don't like it when people get in my space when I'm dancing. Nor do I don't get in anyone's space either, right? It's a bit of both. So I remember I'm dancing and there's this lady who comes and it's a fucking Israeli lady, right? I know it because the artist was also Israeli, and I just know an Israeli when I see them. I've been in Goa so long, I just know an Israeli when I see them. Israel, Palestine, basically that Jerusalem, Middle East. So I remember I'm sitting and I'm dancing on the floor, and this Israeli lady comes, and I very politely tell her, I'm like, see, if when I'm dancing, if my hand hits your face, you will get hurt. I think she misunderstood me. I think she thought I'll say I'll hit your face, because she looked at me and she like gives me a look like, you know, like Durga Ma awakening kind of look, and she's like, I'll fucking hit you. Broken English. I get shocked, okay? I'm really like taken aback, and she like just dances away. And her friend comes, okay, and she's like, dude, like gives me that look, you know, I'm sorry, man. It's just happy, she's drunk or whatever. I'm like, cool. And she was fucking like, she looked like a goddess. After that night, that instant, I'm like, I fell in love, you know. I'm like, couldn't take my eyes off her. And I think I mentioned it like that. I had this very shitty feedback loop of make them chase, and then the night would end and I'm like, fuck, they didn't come. They're like, this guy's not interested. I'm like, this girl's didn't chase me. It was very fucking like shitty, okay, that fucking like psychological way my brain worked. So the entire and there's another thing that happens, okay, guys, I'm telling you, guys and girls, I'm telling you this. If you're somewhere and you're attracted to someone and you know they're hovering around you, they're attracted to you as well. If they're hovering around you, if they're looking at you, if they're doing shit around you, if they've come to if you're at the bar and they've come to they've come to do something stupid, they're into you, man. I'm telling you that. Keep that in mind. Next time you're anywhere, you're giving off good vibes and you see someone hovering around you, they're into you. So this lady, for the fucking next 1 hour of the party, because of me and my friends, we were like the most energetic in the dance floor. Like we were like fucking shouting, screaming, like catching random people and saying, come dance and shit like that, right? So this lady, for the entire night, not the entire night, next 20, 30 minutes, she kept coming in front of me, kept coming behind me, and she's like, you know, like when she's, like again, I'm not trying to show off, but it's just a thing we all do, peacocking, right? Like when she came in front of me, that's when she's like shaking more and she walks off. At one point of time, I'm like, okay, now I'm going to go talk to her, but I look and I don't see her anywhere. So that's when I started realizing, you know, like, you can't wait, can't play this teasing game all the time. The tease was done long ago. I should have just gone for it. Right? Again, one of those regrets. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. She was Lebanese, I think. Lebanese. Not Israeli, not Palestinian. She was Lebanese, I remember. Lebanese, because we had a discussion with her friends in the middle. She was Lebanese. You know, I had one page. I've probably finished 1/3 of the page, and we're already 29 minutes into the podcast. It's okay, I'm going to keep going on. You can choose to stay or not. Next is I'm going to talk about these two women who I met, or let me speak about, these two women who I met during my India trip, the same time I met that Russian lady. So after Goa, I went to Udupi, Manipal. And at that point of time, what was happening is I was doing a lot of vlogs. So I had this very cute lady I'd met at a friend's house party. We were really into, like I told you, right, when someone's into you, you know she's hovering around you. But at that party, I was with someone else. I was with the sister of the host. Now, I can't take anyone's name because it'll get very obvious who it is, but this is what happened. And that sister of the host is another story. She also got married. So one of the recurring themes of this Come On Baby Light My Fire is a lot of these women are now married. And I don't desire them, but I still, have that affection. That's what I believe, right? I believe that today's relationships are flawed because as long as two people are together, there's love. The moment they're not, there's no more love. For me, it's like I have love all the time. I'm very demanding and I'm very loving. It's going to be there all the time. So yeah, these two women. One is so after Goa, I went to Udupi or I went to Chennai. I went to Udupi. Okay. So what happened in Udupi was I had to meet. I wanted to stay in Manipal to meet this lady who was following my vlogs, who I met at that party, and she was following my vlogs, and she was really fascinated by me, and I was really fascinated by her, and we wanted to meet, and we wanted to like like the entire time we were just talking about how we will fuck each other once we meet. She's really kind and nice, okay, and I really feel bad because um, there are few times this has happened to me. Very few times this has happened to me that certain women I just can't get myself hard enough to fuck them. I get so stuck up in my head, so stuck up in my head that I can't get myself hard in that situation. And it really fucked with my ego at one point of time, right? Starting with this incident, this lady. So if you're listening to this, I don't know if you are. We've completely not been in touch since that. I think she despises me, okay, to be honest. If you're listening to this, I'd like to apologize. I don't know what the fuck was going on through my mind at that point in time. I think you remember I told you, right? Like at one point in time, you made me feel so good. I was like, no girl has ever made me feel like this. And you were like, I do this with every guy. And I was going through a lot of conflicting thoughts, fucked up thoughts at that point in time. Again, that's not an excuse. But yeah, whatever. So I remember I am traveling from Goa to Udupi or Goa to somewhere else. I fucking don't remember my itinerary very well, okay? I traveled from Goa. I was in Arambol to South Goa, Mapasa. From Mapasa to Udupi, I take a to Mapasa to Udupi. Mapasa to Udupi was my train. I didn't get a ticket, so I had to fucking share a side seat with another guy. The guy was nice. He was skinny also, so both of us could aram se sleep on that. You know, like proper Jugadu Indian style. So I did. Reached Udupi at 3 or 4 or 2 in the morning, and she fucking came to pick me up on a scooter, macha. So she came to pick me up. I forgot where I landed, okay? Did I land in Udupi or did I land in Manipal? By train, no? One of those places. She came to pick me up. We went home. We cuddled and we slept. No, I didn't sleep the whole night. The entire night we were just like cuddling, making out, and having a great time. And that's when I was like, I realized, dude, whoa, like this was in succession, right? So I had Goa, then I had just before Goa, Pune. I can't speak about Pune, it was a little too much. Pune, Goa, then this, and then before that, Kotagiri. So I had going through a lot of weird relationship things that are happening. And at this point of time, I'm like, wow, I love this woman. I want to be with her, but I can't. I have to go. I'm going through these thoughts. What about this lady? Oh, so many things. So I remember, right, that that entire 3 days or 2 days I spent with her. She was so disappointed at the end of it. She paid for my lunch. She took me out for a movie, Star Wars. I think we saw Force Awakens together. She was so nice to me, and I was such a chutia. This is the only one I really feel really very bad about, you know, like. The best part is we met at Blue Frog 3 years later, and she was with her cousin, and she was so shocked and so like negative towards me. Again, I don't think she's not a negative. She's a very nice person, okay, and she was just, I don't know what happened, man. Crazy it was. She had a hot name too. Really, really fucking great body. Amazing curly hair. Nice lady. She liked me a lot. That's why I know she hates me now. The other lady was, so after Udupi, I went to Chennai because I had to take from Chennai to Howrah a train. So I was in Chennai for a day, and I was with an uncle of another friend of mine, and this uncle was really loaded. He was rich, took me around, bought me beer. So when I landed in Chennai, I had to take a bus from the bus stop, which was your what bus stop is that? Majestic? No, what is that? Very famous bus stop in Chennai. Because this bus stop is of significance to this story. Famous bus stop in Chennai. What's the name? Neither of these. It's got a English name, okay? Can't remember the bus stop's name right now. So I'm in a bus and I see this pretty fucking white lady sitting right in front of me. She notices me as well. I get a call, okay? From I think my friend or my mum. One of them called me and they were like, "How are you? Where are you?" And I'm talking. I'm like, "I'm in Goa. I just came from Goa to Chennai. I'm planning to go to Nepal now." So I have a conversation. Suddenly, this lady, as soon as my call is done, she looks back and she's like, "Hey, so do you know where this bank is?" I'm like, "Today is my first day in Chennai. I have no idea." She's like, "Oh, okay." She turns around and we start talking. She's telling me she's came from Nepal to Goa and she's going to Goa. And I'm like, "I just came from Goa and I'm going to Nepal." Coincidence. That's the first coincidence, right? So this is when I have in Goa realized, I could have done more. I'm like, I'm not going to take any more mistakes. Goa or Udupi. So I'm like, so she's about to get off 2 stops later and we're chatting and she's at the door. She's off the bus. I get up, go off. I'm like, "Give me your number. Give me on Facebook. I want to add you. I want to take you out for maybe if you're in the city today." She's like, "I don't know if I'll be." I'm like, "I don't care. Just give me. We'll connect. If you are there, we'll be there." So she connects, we connect, and I'm out with this uncle. He's bought me beer. We go to the beach. We're chilling. And she messages. She's like, "I'm gonna be at this bus stop at 5. I have a bus at 6. Can you come?" I'm like, "Yeah, 7 or 8 or something." It was sundown. I remember that. What was that bus stop's name, dude? Anyways, so we're at this bus stop, dude. There's so many names. Oh my god. I think this will have to be a 3-part podcast, to be honest. I can't do it in 2 parts. There's so much. Anyways, let's go on. So I still remember. So I tell this uncle, can you drop me off to that bus stop? Because I was staying with another friend of mine's friend who he told was here. And that next evening, I had to meet one of my lecturers from college who had shifted to Chennai, who was with his girlfriend. So I had a lot. My itinerary was really fucking packed. Okay, so basically, some context. I traveled around India for 2 months without any money, living off my friends' couches, living with them, chilling. I went to Nepal, Bhutan. Only Nepal and Bhutan, yeah. Yeah, and a lot of India, like almost like 100,000 kilometers. I did a lot of kilometers. 2 months, no money, almost like 5,000 rupees. That's it. So yeah, this is when I was in Chennai, and she's like, "Yeah," I'm like, "Yeah, I'll come meet you." So I tell uncle, "You'll drop me off." He says, "I'll drop you off." He drops me off, and I'm walking around the bus stop, and I don't see her, and I'm like, "Fuck! How do I contact her? She's not messaging me on Messenger either." She's not a very social media, proper hippie dude. She was dreadlocks, like boho clothes. She's a proper hippie, like hippie chick, right? With those John Lennon glasses, I still remember. Yellowing teeth. She used to make fun of her own teeth. I still remember. Fuck, she was my first wife, and I'll get to that story a little later. So that day in Chennai, we meet, and so I'm going around the bus stop, and I'm like, "Oh, she's not there." Suddenly, I hear my name. I look to the left. She's sitting on the floor of the bus stop. Like squatting kind of thing. Like not squatting, like she's sitting on her bum and her legs are spread and she's like looking at me like stoned. It's like with the peace sign in her hand. I immediately pick her up, and I have this tendency of whenever I'm with a woman, I immediately grab their hand. I want to hold their hand. So I hold her hand and I'm like, we're walking around. And this is in the middle of fucking Chennai, macha, one of the most fucking culturally reserved places. I'm holding this girl's hand and we're walking around. That's why this bus stop is very important, because it is the main bus stop of the city. Everyone can see you there, okay? So I grab her hand and I'm really hungry and I'm like, "Come, let's go get some food." She's like, "Yeah, cool, let's do that." So we just walk across the bus stop. Canteen's on the left, and on the right hand side is this card shop. I'm like, "Come, let's go see what's that shop." She's like, "Okay." And one of the things that I learned in game was, it's another free tip for all you boys and girls. If you really want your first date to be the most impactful, don't spend your first date in one place, but spend your first date in a bunch of places. Like, for example, meet at a shopping center, walk around the shopping center, go to the supermarket, pick yourself up something, chocolate or something. Then from there, go to the restaurant. Or go to a brewery, grab a beer or two, and from there go to a restaurant, from there go to a dessert parlor, from there go to somewhere else in the park, from there go to another store, become some snack, from there go to the cab spot, from there drop her off. So instead of spending 3 hours in one restaurant or in one nightclub, you're spending 3 hours across. So that's something I still do. I love my dates like that. So I take this lady's hands, and we go to this shop, and we go down, and I see it's a shop where couples can get wedding cards made. I'm probably spent 20 minutes with this chick in my life, but I know that there is a connect with her. I'm very strongly connected because I'll tell you, okay, so far in my relationships or with women that I've always been the one to lead. Like, I'm the one holding the hand and leading, and she walks behind me. But with this lady, she was walking ahead of me, which I fell in love with. Like, for the first time ever, walking next to me and then sometimes walking ahead of me. And I fucking loved that, I loved it. So I remember then what happened is we go to this wedding card, and I'm telling, we connected very strongly, right? So at no point of time does it feel like I need to impress her or she needs to impress me. I'm like, anything I say out of my mouth, I know we will like it. So, we're hitting it off. We were like, how do you want if the whole context was, if you and me are getting married, how does our wedding card have to be? So I remember we finalized a blue wedding card, glossy blue wedding card with like golden writing, and she had written it down, the content. We did that, literally. Then after that, when we were walking, I'm talking to her as if I'm a boyfriend, like that's how we're chatting with each other. So we go to this place, and I'm broke, right? I don't have money. So I tell her, dude, I'll buy juice, you buy food. She's like, yeah, let's fucking do that. So I buy juice, and we're talking at the juice shop, and from there we go to the dosa, and we have idli, like one platter together. And from there we go to the bus stop. So we're talking about all kinds of shit, like travel, music, love, family, girlfriend, boyfriend, relationships, spirituality, God, psychedelics, shrooms. She was giving me tips about, go to Chitwan, go to the park, look for rhino dung, pick up rhino dung. Then you'll see shrooms inside that, psychedelic Amanita mascaras and stuff. Then I'm telling her, go to Goa. Goa Gil's coming. He's going to party. Stay in these places. You'll pick up acid from here. Stay here. Tantra Shack. I was giving her full download. She was giving me full download. At that point of time, I really feel like we were destined to be together, and I feel she feels the same. Maybe not, but I feel she feels the same. So we had food, and as we were walking back to the bus stop, because it's time for her to go, I don't know if I'll ever meet her again. She doesn't know if she'll ever meet me again. I ask her, something in my head is like, I want to ask her if she wants to have sex with me, kind of a thing, like not ask her to have sex with me, but I want to know what her thoughts are. So I ask her very like sheepishly, I'm like, so did you have good Kama Sutra sex with any guy in India? And she like looks at me and she laughs. She's like, no. Because I till then had never not interacted with too many foreign women, especially in a romantic sexual way. With Indian women, I can't be so direct. That's what I thought back then. Nowadays I am. I don't give a fuck. But back in those days, I used to think you can't be direct. So with her, I first risk, right? I'm like, she's like, no, I didn't. I thought I would, but I didn't. Maybe in Goa. I'm like, yeah, of course, you'll have so much crazy time in Goa, right? And I was feeling a little jealous or whatever, but I remember, this is the best part, right? This is why the bus stop is so significant. I remember going to drop her off in the bus. Since at that point of time, we'd already established this husband, her hands are held and I'm not letting her go. And looking deep into her eyes, I'm like, I want to fucking kiss this lady publicly. First time, like, PDA, in front of all these people, but I'm fucking so shy, right? Something from my core, like I always believe, right, that I have this instinct, gut instinct, like something from the core, like go ahead and kiss her, dude. Grab her by the waist and we kiss for like good 2-3 minutes, fucking kissing, buses about kissing. And then when we look back and I look at her and she looks at me, we know at that point of time that we're going to meet again and we're going to have some good, we're meant to be together for a while. Cut to a few months later, she was in Goa for like a good 5 months or something like that. She's like, I'm going to leave India for go to Germany. I'm like, yeah, cool, go ahead. She's like, I'm coming to Bangalore. I want to stay with you for a while. I'm like, oh, is it? She's like, yeah. She does. She's lived with me for a while. She's met my parents. It's crazy. This is when I was living with my parents for a while. So she's met my parents. She's met my cat. She's met my sister. She's met everyone in my family. This is when I had started one of my own companies and stuff like that. It was going good. So I still remember one evening we had gone to drink beer. I was really broke. Okay, I wish I had more money. I wish it was now, because I would have been able to do so much with her. But it's okay. She was very kind. Okay, again, these women were very kind to me. So we go to this beer place, and we have two beers, and I take the beer ka jo kya bolte hai usko, like just some two random things I take, and I say to this lady, let's get married. Not married in the sense where you and me go to a church, do those vows and nuptials and have people witness and send wedding cards and stuff, but let's just do the things that a husband and wife would do, be husband and wife in name, for 24 hours and see what it feels like. She was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. So we did. And that's when I started realizing, that the only thing that marriage does, or being married to someone does, is it lets you know that you have a sort of unspoken contractual relationship. When I say contractual, I don't mean to say like a give and take kind of thing, but you know what the relationship is between the both of y'all. You know what the dynamic is. You know both of y'all are romantically, spiritually, emotionally, passionately, domestically involved. Again, that's another podcast about these different fulfillments between relationships, but you know that it's like, it's very weird to explain it. Like, basically what we realize at the end of 24 hours is there's no difference in the way we behaved with each other, whether we were married or not. So that is why today, I don't need to be someone's boyfriend to act like their boyfriend, or I don't need to be someone's husband to be caring and nice to someone. I just am caring and nice. Like, it doesn't mean that every random woman I meet, I'm like, wow, like caring and nice. But to the people that I'm into and who are into me, whether we are romantically into each other or platonically, I can be caring. I'm very caring, right? So that's what I mean. I don't need a premise to do something for someone. Similarly, I don't need a premise to ask something of someone. How do I explain it? It's like, I don't need a bunch of nuptials or a bunch of signatures to be romantically involved with someone and have sex with them. I just need that intimacy and spark. And I know for a fact that this intimacy and spark will last forever. So this lady and I are still connected, still talk to each other. She's in Germany now. She's figuring out her things. I'm in India now. I'm figuring out. But I know for a fact if we were logistically together, we would be together for a long time. Again, not in an exclusive husband-wife relationship, but we would be soul buddies. So that's something I realize now. I believe for a season finale, I'm going to be probably... I don't know if I should talk about more. I think I'm going to call it a night here. How many did we do today? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only 6? Really? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. There's 21 more left. It's like almost 4 podcasts. So I think this Come On Baby Light My Fire is going to continue for a while. I honestly thought I would finish it off in this podcast, but it looks like that's not happening. Looks like this is going to continue, and I'm probably going to continue this on to season 2. I don't know how, but I know this will continue on to season 2 somehow. Maybe not season 2. As the curtain closes on season 1 with this episode. I mean, we have come to the end of this episode. Notebook is closed. And as we count down the last few minutes of this episode, I mean, it's pretty much the last few minutes of season 1. I feel like a kid right now. I mean, kid who's seeing a project, doing a project for the first time. That's literally what I feel like right now, and I feel great. I mean, I'm literally cuddling myself right now because of how great I feel. And this podcast has been an accomplishment that you and I have done together. You've been listening, I've been talking. And I thank you again. Thank myself, Anvay. You've done a fantastic job, dude. 1 season, 25 episodes. We did it. We set a goal and we fucking did it. I mean, I have nothing more to say. I think The less that I say, the better. The less I do, the better. The less I make, the better. And the electricity is back as well, so I can take a shower now as well. That's good. Look at this coincidence. There's divinity at play. Come, let's dance with divinity. If you've got to listen to. So, what I'm going to do right now, guys, is what I'm going to tell you is feel free to explore season one's episodes as you want to as we come to a close today. Feel free to tell yourself that season 2 is coming and it's something you've got to look forward to. I mean, we're going to have, it's not just going to be me talking in season 2. I have 25 guests lined up for 25 different episodes with 25 different topics. Each of us are going to talk about, each episode is going to talk about something uniquely different. It's going to be personal stories of these personal guests with personal lessons, learnings, episodes, topics, conversations. And I can't wait for you to be a part of it. And I can't wait for that community of 25 people who are going to join me to be a part of it. So if you're listening and you're part of that 25, I can't wait to have you. Nor can my audience wait to hear you. If you're an audience, which I know you are, I can't wait for you to see what season 2 is going to be all about. And I can't wait to finish 25 episodes of season 2 and celebrate that with you guys as well. So here's to season 1, completion of season 1. And here's looking forward to season 2. This is Anvay Pramanik, your host, signing off for the season finale of Anvay Pramanik's Early Night Show tonight. And I look forward to seeing you again in the first episode of season 2. Until then, it's your host, Anvay Pramanik, signing off. Good night, toodles, tata, bye-bye.